go through to the 1950s, showing how fashion changes and how each period takes on a little bit of the previous period before. So we're starting off with Gillian, who is in her 1930s dress, and as we say, it's slightly more severe. It's not 40s, but it's heading that way slightly. You will see the ankles, the strap shoes that would have been worn at all times by the women to be comfortable in. And that would have perhaps come away from those little boots that they would have worn previously with the little buttons up, which must have taken an age to put on. If you imagine what they were actually having to put on, would have been quite diabolical. But so Gillian has actually got the pretty sort of formal and slightly severe 30s dress. The little scarf around it sort of gives a little bit of colour to it. The hair is pulled back, so it's, she keeps this sort of slight severe look. The little gloves, they all wore gloves. We always wore gloves, didn't we? You didn't go out of the house without a pair of gloves. You didn't go out of the house without a hat. So Gillian also has got something to read. She's got a little bag. She doesn't need to carry too much stuff with her. She doesn't have all the mobile phones and the paraphernalia that we have today. So a little bag would have been absolutely adequate. So Gillian looks absolutely fine in that, and later on we're going to see her in a more up-to-date clothing. So thank you, Gillian. Bit of a round of applause, can we have that? Thank you very much. And then we come to Louise, who's going to be in a slightly heavier outfit. Again, 30s. If you remember, everything had fur collars or fur coats. The length of the collar, the coat rather, didn't vary. It wasn't the shorties like we see today. So she's going to do a little stroll for us, and we're going to see how she looks. She'll do a little twizzle when she gets to the middle here. The belt, of course, gave it that fashionable low length that was the fashion during the 30s, with a little detail on the pocket. Again, a little matching bag, gloves again, and the hat. We're talking winter here. So it's a little astragan hat that she would have been able to buy in her local shop, or even she might have made it, taken it off a fur coat or a fur collar from somewhere else. So as she walks up, notice these strap shoes again, and they became the essential, of course, when you were going out 30s, 40s, even through to the 50s. So if Louise has a little stroll up there, anyone who wants to take photographs, we don't charge, but we do have a little volunteers box in our Barry War Museum. We're all part of Volunteers of Barry War Museum, which is a free museum just by the cafe there, and if anyone feels like putting a little 10p or 20p into the pot, we'd be very grateful for that, because we all do this for the love of the business. So 1930s, what was happening then? Well, of course, Hitler and the National Socialist Party were developing throughout the whole of Europe. Thank you, Louise. Thank you. This is Claire, and you can see it's a very beautiful outfit, and of course more floral. She would have been like this at home. So as you were getting towards the late 1930s, all the severe element was sort of dropping away, and people were trying to gee themselves up, make themselves feel happy. She's obviously done a bit of gardening, and as Claire does a little walk, can you see that beautiful hat? It may have been one that she bought, or she may have bought the hat just as a little straw piece and then decorated herself. She's put a nice blue band around it that goes in with the dress. See, the length has come back again, like it was in the early 20s or the late 20s. Trying to look more demure, and it's a very pretty little dress with a nice lacy collar that's sewn in. She's been gardening. She's got her gardening gloves and her little fork to be very delicate. It would be a very ladylike sort of thing she would have done. Little blouson fashion. If she does a little turn to the back so we can see. Can you see how the front is the sort of flat base line, and then at the back she's got the little blouson effect, the little puff sleeves. And if you remember how the 40s evolved with having the padded shoulders, and they came back popular in the 1980s as well, didn't they? And if you look behind you, when you finished here you have a little look, we've actually hung up dresses from the 1970s through to the 1980s and 90s, just to give you an idea of how fashion evolved. So I'd like to say thank you to Claire. I think that's an absolutely beautiful outfit. And we've got Rose here, and she's in a rose-coloured outfit, so that's all appropriate, isn't it? So if Rose would like to come up and come onto the platform. Again, the lovely strappy shoes, we all wore them at that time, and they're so comfortable. We do potter, or some young ladies potter about in these very high heels now. I did wear them back in the 1960s, and I think, how on earth did I ever manage to do that, all pottering down the streets? But there's Rose, she does a little twizzle for us. The hat matches beautifully, as do the shoes, so it's a sort of coordinated look. Slightly different with the green. She's gone gone a little bit overboard, thinking, oh, I'm not going to have a rose-coloured bag, I'm going to have green. So she's been a little bit bold there. She's going to do a stroll for us so we can have a look at the back and the front. The little blouson effect is coming in, but it's more or less of a straight line, a little bit of a puffy sleeve up there, so you're beginning to get the development of what happens in the 40s. The hat, of course, the cloche hat that was so fabulous and so famous in the 30s, that actually denoted rather the period that it was in. Gloves, of course, you didn't go without your gloves. First thing you did before you went out through the front door was grab your gloves, grab your hat, and there we are. So if you take a little stroll down to the halt sign, so we can see the back view as well, it's slightly elasticated to make it comfortable, of course, and the material is very beautiful. If you could feel the material, it's slightly raised. So material was getting more and more difficult to get during the 1930s. As the various elements took place, as the war took on, and we were sort of heading towards 1938, 1939, we were finding it slightly more difficult to get material, so it became when we called it make, do and mend. So if you just take another little stroll up to us here so we can get a good view of you there. I think she deserves a round of applause. Thank you very much, Rose. So we'll be seeing Rose later on in a very, very different outfit.